Hey everybody, how's it going?
Hello!
Hello everyone out there. Welcome to our second episode of Measuring the Circle. My name is Madeline Kate. I am your co-host along with Jim Pyre. Go ahead and say hi, Jim.
Hey, how you doing? I'm Jim Pyre and welcome to Measuring the Circle. We are a Fortean website, web show.
Website too.
We do all things paranormal. So what's today's episode going to be about?
Today's episode I am really excited for. We are going to be delving really deep into the Chicago Mothman sightings that have happened over this year. If you live in this area, I'm sure you might have heard, because I've seen it shared across all types of social media pages, that there have actually been 55 sightings this year of the Chicago Mothman.
It's a lot of sightings.
It's a lot. It's a lot. So when these sightings first started coming out, I immediately piqued my interest, since Chicago is basically in my backyard. And
Me too.
We both live here. So we, did our research, read through all the reports. I went to Navy Pier. I've went to Oz Park. I've went to a lot of the places where this creature has been sighted, and hopefully thinking I might be able to see something for myself. I did not see anything. But definitely doesn't mean that there's not something out there. So we're really excited because we have interviewed 4 incredible researchers that are going to be talking about this subject, that have done a lot of intensive groundwork, collecting reports, talking with witnesses. So they've really done a lot, and we're going to be able to bring that all to you so that you guys can kind of make your own decision on what you think is going on here. What the flap is going on here?
We're not going to tell you how to think one way or another, but hopefully you'll do your own research and decide for yourself after you have a listen to our really amazing experts.
Yeah. So we have prepared for you guys today. We have 4 interviews. We have Jack Blue, who is a ground researcher. He works a lot with MUFON, and he has actually interviewed 2 people who have seen a creature that they think might be the Mothman here in Chicago. We also interviewed Allison Jornlin, who is the only person that I know of that has gone to every single location. Wasn't she awesome, Jim?
She was amazing. I want to research with her. I want to do some groundwork with her. Absolutely.
She's incredible.
We got a ghost hunt or something.
Yeah. And she runs the Milwaukee tours, so we definitely should take this Measuring the Circle up there and do an investigation sometime. So yeah, she's been to every single location, and what I really like about what she did is she read the report while she was there and tried to see if there was any inconsistencies in the report. So to kind of give the viewers, especially for the people that don't live in Chicago, a better understanding of maybe some of these reports aren't real. Maybe some of these reports were just written by hoaxers, or who knows by who.
Yeah,
so
who knows?
Who knows? We also interviewed Sam Marinto. I met Sam this year at the Chicago Ghost Conference. He's a great guy. He is the state director of MUFON here in Illinois. So he has been involved because MUFON has gotten 7 of the 55 reports. So he was able to kind of give us a little bit of the back end stuff, where he was able to see where these reports are coming from, as well as, you know, the contacts that delivered that information. So that's good. And then, of course, we had to interview Lon Strickler. You guys might be familiar with Lon. He runs Phantoms and Monsters, and he has been kind of the driving force behind collecting all of these reports and putting them online. So if anybody knows about the Mothman, it is definitely Lon. So we're saving him for last, so make sure that you stay tuned. We have approximately, I think it's 80 minutes of interviews, so it's a little bit long. So this will all be saved on YouTube in case you guys aren't able to make it for the whole entire live show. So
hopefully you'll stay with us, though. Get some popcorn.
That's right. You just
enjoy.
You just gotta be like me and wear your big comfy sweater, and you know, you get yourself a nice hot beverage. Jim, you're dressed so nice.
Yeah.
You get yourself a nice comfy clothing and a nice hot beverage. Get some cocoa or some coffee if that's your thing. Sit back, and I think we go ahead and let's run it. Let's go ahead and start these interviews.
Let's do this.
All right. So while we are playing these interviews, I am going to definitely be on the YouTube live chat. So if you guys have questions, I will be there monitoring all of the comments. I am happy to talk to you guys. And if need be, I can always stop the interviews and bring us back so we can talk about things more. So I will be there, and you will be here, and let's go ahead and play it.
I'm gonna be over here.
All right, we're ready. I will be on the comments. We'll see you soon.
Bye.
Bye. So let's just go ahead and get right into these things. Jack, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, and how did you get interested in the Chicago Mothman or paranormal things just in general?
Well, I've always had an interest in the paranormal ever since I was a kid, and as you know, as time went on, it just like gradually got more and more. I became more passionate about it, and pertaining to the Chicago Mothman sightings, I got on board about the third sighting in. There was an article online, and I read the article, and at the end of it, it talked about how MUFON stands for Mutual UFO Network. It's like the nation's largest UFO organization. That MUFON is investigating the reports, and you often come across that line when reading paranormal reports, and I got frustrated because I was like, well, what does that mean? Who's investigating this? I want to know what's going on. So what I did is I went on the MUFON website, and apparently they have different state chapters. So I went to the Illinois state chapter, and sure enough, there was a San Lorenzo, Illinois state director, and it had a phone number. And then so I called him, and I just asked, I was wondering about the sightings, who's investigating this, and he goes, well, I'm the investigator. And I said, oh, okay. And then so I introduced myself. I told him I was interested, and we ended up talking for about an hour or so, and we just really clicked. We had good chemistry, and he said, hey, you're really knowledgeable in the paranormal in general. I'd like to have you on board as consultants. And I go, sure, I'd like to do that. And that's how it took off from there.
So have you witnessed anything? I mean, have you talked to the witnesses, rather? Or what have you experienced?
So I've spoken to 2 witnesses, and Sam Lorenzo has spoken to 1 witness. And the only reason why that we haven't spoken to more witnesses is because a lot of the reports aren't coming through MUFON. Only a selected few have. Most of them are coming into a blog known as Phantoms and Monsters, and another blog called UFO Clearinghouse. So one of the witnesses, he saw what he thought was somebody jumping off the Sears Tower committing suicide. But it turns out that this being, or this entity, or whatever he saw, spread wings, flew around for a few seconds, and flew away. So the way I was able to find that witness is because that didn't come through MUFON. It came through Phantoms and Monsters website. So I kind of looked at where the sighting took place, and I kind of went to the area myself. And I went to the location where I believed the individual hung out or worked at, and I actually found the witness. And he goes, "Yeah, that was me." And then I said, "Hey, do you think we could, talk about it a little bit? I understand you're busy at the moment." He goes, "I am busy at the moment, but I could, what I could do is like give you a brief summary." And I said, "Do you think you could give me a brief summary, and then we could exchange numbers, and later on I could do a more in-depth interview?" And at first he was very hesitant. He didn't want to do it. He goes, "Look, I don't know what I saw, and it's not something I want to talk about." He goes, "I told one of my friends, and they didn't take me seriously, even though they themselves are believers in the paranormal. And he goes, when my friend kind of shot me down, I didn't really want to talk about it with anybody else." And I said, "Look, I understand that." I go, "This interview I want to do with you, it's not going to be, it doesn't have to be on camera. I'm not going to put your information out online or anything like that." So at first he was hesitant, but he gave in and he said, "Okay, we could do that." So the brief, this summary that he said was, and he found somebody suicide on the Sears Tower. This being changed its appearance. It went from an insect-like entity to this bat-like entity. So it was actually morphing in front of him. And it eventually spread its wings, like the report said, flew around and went away. And I asked him how does he feel about what he witnessed, and he said that his emotions were kind of ambivalent, is the way that he described it. It was a mixture of fear, of confusion, and frustration because he had nobody to tell. And so I thanked him and I said, "Hey, now that we have each other's numbers, I'm going to contact you soon, and I'd like to do a more in-depth interview." And he said, "Sure, we could do that."
Well, Jack, you talked to him, Jack. Do you believe him? I mean,
he came across as very sincere. Now, the problem is, and here's the thing, I have called him quite a few times now. I've texted him a few times, and I basically reiterated, what I told him before, that if he doesn't want his name out there, that's fine. I won't have his name or anything like that. And I said that in the text, and I never got a reply back from him.
It was incredible that you were able to find him. How many people did you talk to, do you think, before you found him?
Just a few.
Wow.
I don't want to give the individuals like exact location, but there was a reason why I was able to find him so quickly. Yeah, it didn't take too long for me to find him.
It's because you're an awesome researcher. That's why you found him so quickly.
That's what I like to tell myself.
Absolutely. No, you're not lying. That's absolutely true.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
That's awesome. One thing that I would have, definitely asked him, and I wonder if you did you happen to ask him how he stumbled upon Phantoms and Monsters and decided to post the report there?
I did ask him, yeah. He actually said that he was vaguely familiar with the sightings. He didn't look deep into it or anything like that, but he happened to find, he heard about the sightings. He looked further online after his sighting, and that's when we came across Phantoms and Monsters.
That makes sense that he was able to find it. So tell us about the second witness.
Okay, so the second witness, this was in Logan Square, which is a neighborhood in Chicago, and it was in front of the bar called The Owl, interestingly. So, so the individual, he was also, just like the first individual, the second individual was outside having a smoke. And this was, I believe, 10:30 p.m. He was outside smoking, and what he witnessed is a large flying creature is how he described it, and it had the head like a pterodactyl.
Wow.
So, right. So the way I found the witness is it pretty much says in the report where this individual is located. It says right in the report. So he was pretty open about it. So I actually just went to the location of where he was regularly, and I went inside the establishment, and I actually asked around, like, I came upon this individual that was just walking in, and I said, "Sir, did you submit this report?" And I showed him, because I had it on my phone. I showed him the report. He goes, "Yep, that was me." And then I go, "Holy crap, are you serious?" And then he's like, "Yeah, why don't you want to come outside and I'll tell you about it." And I said, "Sure, yeah, that's why I'm here." So
That's awesome.
so we go outside, and he's telling me what happened over. He's telling me how it went down, and it basically, just like the report says, it was a large creature with a wide wingspan, and it flew above the buildings that he was leaning against, and it headed north.
To me, with the pterodactyl head, it sounds more like your classic Thunderbird sighting.
That's what I thought too, and because I asked him, I go, "Well, what do you think it is that you saw?" And he goes, he said, "Man, I don't know what I saw." He goes, "I don't know if it's the Mothman. I don't know if it's something supernatural. All I know is that I mean anything like that before." He goes, "Not to that extent." Unfortunately, with that individual too, we exchanged numbers, and he did text me back a few times, but since then I haven't been able to set up anything in terms of interview.
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
Again, though, you got farther than the rest of us, so that's fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, you can still understand my frustration of wanting to do an on-camera interview with these two individuals.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
So, what do you think about the other 56, 57 reports of the people that you haven't interviewed? Do you think that all of them are real people witnessing something, whether it be a misidentification or it actually be a Mothman? Or do you think there might be something else at play?
So here's the thing. Like I said, I've been collaborating a lot with the Illinois State Director of MUFON, San Rento, and we actually discovered patterns within most of the reports. Patterns that would say that these reports are written by a group of individuals, or even possibly one individual. So it's really unfortunate, and we also have somebody who was able to trace the IP address for some of the reports.
That's pretty amazing.
And we have discovered that 3 of the reports come from the same IP address, and then 3 other separate reports come from the same IP address. So we could probably deduce that these 2 sets of 3 reports are actually one individual, possibly just using different devices. There's a report that came into Pilsen neighborhood. It's a neighborhood in Chicago, and that's where I live actually too. I live in Pilsen. So when that report came in, I wanted to investigate it, myself, because I'm so close by. What that report says is that a truck driver came into work at the Chicago International Produce Markets, They came into work and they saw, they said 4 to 5 other individuals that were standing around looking at a creature that was about 6 feet tall, and that they were threatened by this creature, how massive it was. And eventually, what they did is, well, they were so frightened by it, and eventually the creature flew away, and it flew over the I-55 expressway. So, so
that was the report. Wasn't that the report where they were throwing rocks at it?
yeah. So what they did is they threw rocks at it.
Very interactive.
That's the first thing I do. I'll tell you, I'd start throwing rocks.
Right. So what I did is, having passed by there enough times, I know that the security arrived there about 2 in the morning to 2:30 in the morning. So I drove over there around 2:30 in the morning, and I parked in like kind of the outer parking lot of the facility, and I just walked to the security booth. And of course, as I'm approaching the security booth, he's looking at me like, "Who is this guy approaching?" Because usually there's only truck drivers that are going by. So, I approached him and I just quickly introduced myself, and I told him why I was there. And he said, "I haven't heard anything like that." And then I go, "Really? You haven't heard anything about any weird sighting or anything like that?" And he literally said, "No, I haven't." He goes, "Look, I got to get back to work. I can't, I
Sure.
can't do this right now." And I said, "Okay, I understand." And so what I did, I took my car, and there's another entrance in the other side of the facility. So I drove my car to the other entrance, and I'm not supposed to go into the inner drive, and I found parking. And as I was parking, there was truck drivers out there that were telling me not to park there. But I figure, you know what, I'm going to be real quick. So let me just park, get out of my car, and approach them and see if they heard anything. So that's what I did. And they were saying, "No, we never heard anything." I went to another truck driver. He never heard anything. And so I think important thing to know with this investigation, with the specific one in the Chicago International Produce Market, is it didn't seem like, it's not that these truck drivers didn't want to talk to me because they were afraid to. I genuinely feel that they never heard about the sighting or knew what was going on.
Gotcha.
So
Yeah, what's your gut telling you about the Mothman, the Chicago Mothman? What do you think?
my gut is telling me that most of it is a hoax.
Okay.
Somebody is perpetrating this hoax, whether it's one individual or a small group of individuals working together. But if you read the reports, if you read many of the reports, like I said before, there are patterns in the reports. And what I mean by that is the same type of language is being used. There are the same spelling errors, the same missed capitalizations, descriptions of the creature are similar. Now, somebody may say, well, of course, if there's a creature there, it would have similar, similar adjectives. But no, the way that these reports are written, they're written so similarly that it has to be, either one individual or a small group of individuals.
Gotcha.
We're talking over 55 sightings here, and for the narrative to be so similar, over 55 people aren't going to write, that similarly.
Yeah, or have that much description. I mean, you've seen the reports that came into MUFON as well as all the other reports that people post to MUFON, and you're lucky if you get a full sentence that you can understand. So for people to be writing these multiple paragraph novels of all the descriptive adjectives that they add on to everything, it's a little bit much. So
yeah, usually when you read a paranormal report, the person writing it just gets to the point. They get to the sighting itself. They get to the experience. But a lot of these reports, and I do mean a lot of them, they give you these backstories about the individual or about their surroundings, about their day, and it's nonsense. Yeah, they're
So-
creating a fictional world.
Yeah, creepypasta. They're doing creepypasta for MUFON.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
That's all it is. All right. Well, Jack, how can we find you on the internet? Where can we find you? Where can we go to ask you more questions and stuff?
Well, you could. I'm on Facebook at Jack Blue. You could find me there. Blue is spelled BLU, and I'm also starting my own, or I have started my own paranormal research group.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So if you want to contact me, you could email me at jackc4488@yahoo.com, and it's Jack and then the letter C and then 4488@yahoo.com. I actually have a few paranormal projects that are if it goes through, it'll be pretty big. So yeah, I'll let you guys know.
Oh, that's awesome.
Fantastic. You heard it here, everybody.
You heard it here first. Woo!
Right.
All right. Well, thank you, Jack. Take care. Thank you.
Thanks so much. We'll talk soon.
All right, take care, guys.
Bye. Over there on the left, we have investigator and researcher Allison. How are you doing, Allison?
Hi, everybody. I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on.
So Allison, is there a Mothman or isn't there? Let's just get right to it.
Okay, well, I can't say if there is or if there isn't. I mean, I think there's a possibility that there could have been at least one or two authentic sightings. But 59 sightings I find implausible. I mean, I've been to all 59 locations that were reported, and boy, it is really hard to believe those accounts when you're in the actual location. I just think that, I mean, when you go and follow in the footsteps of witnesses, so many inconsistencies crop up, and you notice so many things that you wouldn't if you just casually read it at home on the internet. If you actually go to the place and, walk the walk, you're like, I don't know if this matches up. So, is there a Mothman? Is there a Mothman? Well, I can't say that there aren't any extraordinary creatures because I know people who have spotted extraordinary things. And, these events have really changed their lives. So, to say that there is nothing, I can't say that. To say that these sightings in Chicago are overblown, that I can say.
What do you mean by inconsistencies? Give us some examples.
Okay. Well, there was the Melrose Park incident, which was at number 30, I believe, on the Chicago Mothman sightings map. And so I went there because, I went to all of them, but I was excited to go to that one because it had a photo associated with it.
Yes.
So I, wanted to see, the area. And I was really uninspired by the area because it's a strip mall. And it's overrun with people all day and all night. And the parking lot that the photo was taken in is extraordinarily busy. Just trying to match up the photo with the other photo was harrowing because you have cars coming at you. And it was amazing that anybody could take a photo in those conditions. So much less take a photo of the Mothman. So the account says that, all right, this big 6 to 7 foot tall winged being swoops down in front of the Best Buy as this customer is coming out, right? So she's coming out of the Best Buy, and oh my gosh, there it is, swooping in front of the Best Buy. Okay, first of all, why didn't just everybody in the parking lot see it? Okay, it's a Mothman. It's got a 10-foot wingspan. It's, you know, it's not at an off time of day. It's, you know, daylight. So, I mean, everybody would have seen this strange creature, but it was so huge. All right, so she also said, this witness also said that she came out of the Best Buy, there it was, and she fumbled in her purse and grabbed her phone and snapped off a picture really quick as it flew away. Okay. Implausible because I went all around the parking lot and retook the photo. I had to match up landmarks. Oh, it's a little this way, it's a little that way. You can imagine how maddening that was, okay?
I thought you were going to say you can never find anything in your purse, but go on.
Also implausible because you never find it in your purse.
There you go.
It's debunked right there. A girl found her phone in her purse? No way, that's not possible.
Hey, I'm a woman. I know that's not possible. So I matched up my photo with the previous photo and found that it wasn't right outside the Best Buy. It was way in the middle of the parking lot. It takes like, I should have timed it actually, but it takes at least a minute or two to get out that far. Okay? So it's implausible. And she says, I just came out the doors of the Best Buy. There it was. Grabbed my phone, took a picture. No, you didn't. All right. So then, what else did I notice while I was there? Well, it's right in the path of O'Hare. So as you're standing there, dozens of planes are flying over.
Oh my gosh.
I took pictures of them too. And then I matched them up with the figure in the purported Mothman photo. And you know what? It's a plane, okay? Distinctive shape.
Makes sense.
Not mince words here. It's a plane. I'm sorry. I want it to be a strange winged creature from another dimension. Really, really, I do. But you gotta give me something, and that's a plane. So,
do you think, I mean, can you pull out maybe one incident that you really think actually happened out of all the chaff, all the garbage?
Yeah, well, I was able to talk to Billy B., who is one of the witnesses of the Mothman in Cicero. He's a truck driver, and he was coming in to get a delivery of bread, and he saw something strange in the sky. Now, on Lon Strickler's Phantoms and Monsters blog, the way that the story is told, it sounds like it's actually a creature in the sky.
Yes.
But I did get to talk to Billy, so this is it's more compelling when you actually get to talk to the witness yourself. And he sounded, like he believed in what he was saying, that he saw something strange in the sky that had a, kind of that bat-shaped wing, but it was more of a craft. It wasn't a creature. So,
that's interesting.
Yeah, and when you look through the sightings, there are sightings that are lumped together. Like one of them, there's one from just over the border in Indiana, and that one, the witness just saw two red lights, and it's been conflated to be the Mothman, as if these two red lights are the eyes of the Mothman. But really, you're just seeing lights in the sky. How can you connect it really to the Mothman? There's another story about, I think it's the Willis Tower one, where something leapt off of the Willis Tower and somebody
jumped off the Sears Tower? Willis Tower?
Yeah, and so somebody experienced it, and the way it is described, again, on the Phantoms and Monsters blog, is as a green insectoid creature, not a Mothman. So, and that's lumped into the Mothman sightings as well. So,
Okay.
I mean, I think when you have paranormal reports, sometimes the urge that you get is to lump it all together as one manifestation. But, you really don't know that it's one thing. And I mean, Lon himself has said, he thinks it's 3 different creatures manifesting.
I've heard that. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know that it's any creatures because I have one witness I've been able to talk to. And I mean, here's a possibility. Here's a possibility. Maybe something real and extraordinary did happen. And, like Billy, for example, saw some secret craft. Maybe this is more stealth technology. He saw it, he reports it, and then it's like, we have to flood the system with bogus reports. But again, he wasn't one of the first reports. So I don't know if we can really, really go with that. But, perhaps something real is happening here. And most of the reports are bogus. And, maybe there's 1 or 2 that's authentic. And the rest are just to make the smoke screen and make you reject what has been reported that may be authentic.
It wouldn't be the first time. Yeah, that wouldn't be the first time you get a bunch of garbage with something good. I mean, that seems to be the pattern.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing, too, is we are coming up on the 50th anniversary of the Silver Bridge collapse, which was part of the original Mothman case, or at least it's conflated to be part of it, where in Point Pleasant, West Virginia, people were first seeing UFOs and then the Mothman and then Men in Black. There was a whole series of different manifestations going on. And then, so that started in 1966. And then by December 15th, 1967, the Silver Bridge collapsed, killing 46 people on their way home from Christmas shopping. It was a terrible tragedy. And so people think that, because of that and the Mothman was sighted, perhaps the Mothman is a portent of doom. I don't know. I don't know that the Silver Bridge collapse was even really connected, but in their minds, people connect the Silver Bridge collapse. So we have to realize that that's a very significant anniversary, and it's pretty convenient that the Mothman is showing up again right in time for the 50th anniversary.
Yeah, it makes me not want to get on any bridges or under any viaducts in December.
Yeah, well, or it makes you want to think skeptically, even more skeptically about such reports because, maybe somebody is doing this as a media campaign. Maybe it's an art project. Maybe it is skeptics because we know that, skeptics have, like James Randi and his crew, have perpetrated hoaxes on people in the paranormal field just to see if they'll go for it. And then they go for it and in a big way, and then James Randi pulls the rug out and says, "Oh, haha, you Fortean researchers are all a bunch of morons.
You'll believe anything."
Do fake research to find that there's inconsistencies, and I'm not the only one saying that there's inconsistencies. The head of MUFON in Illinois, Sam Moranto, has also said this, and he said it because for each report, like if it says there's a full moon, he looks that up. Was there a full moon that day? Any environmental factors that are quoted in the report, he tracks it down to see if that was really the case. And overwhelmingly, it's not the case. So what is reported does not fit with reality.
I've heard you talk a lot about how many of these stories are consistent in the fact that they all contain these tropes or these narrative elements that all kind of seem like they could be written from the same person. Can you touch on that a little bit?
Yeah, so the tropes I'm talking about are okay, it's very movie-like, a lot of these accounts. saying that, oh, the Mothman flew up in the sky, like straight up. He just skyrocketed into the sky and then passed in front of the moon. So like E.T., right? Like I see, stuff like that is just, I don't know, seems like too much like a scene out of a movie, not like an actual report. Now, the other thing is, there's people from all walks of life. There's quite a variety of reports. And there's 2 reports from purported policemen. So just because somebody tells you a policeman reported this, how are we supposed to believe that? Well, we can't, because we can't contact the witnesses. That information is kept by 2 researchers, and they won't share them with the information with anyone else.
Who are those 2 researchers, if I may ask?
Well, it would be Lon Strickler from the Phantoms and Monsters blog, who is in Pennsylvania, so he's not even on the scene. But then one researcher who is on the scene is Manuel Navarrete of the UFO Clearinghouse, and he claims that he's actually gone to the location and met with the witnesses. And I've wanted to work a little bit closer with him. Like when I went to the Melrose Park location, I had not only like matched up the pictures, but I also like bought some chalk, because there's a dollar store right there. So nice. I bought this big honking piece of chalk, right? And so now I have it in my car in case, because I might need to mark something in the future. And I'm not much of a geek. So I bought this big chalk, and I chalked the spot where it happened. Now, then I'm like, hey, Emmanuel, I chalked that spot for you. And he's like, okay, I'll go look at where it was. And then I'm like, hey, did you get out there and check that chalk that I marked? And he's like, oh, it got washed away by the rain. And so that night, that I chalked it was true. There was a lot of rain. So I'm like, oh, darn. So the next weekend when I went out, I went back to that location just because I wanted to make sure that I chalked it for Manuel, thinking that he'd really look at it. So I went back, and you know what? That chalk mark was still there, proving that he didn't even go. I don't think. So then I chalked it like crazy, but who knows if he still even went. Anyway, yeah, as you can tell, I had some frustration with these researchers because of their inability to share information. Going back to the police report, there was one in Auburn Gresham, which was reportedly cited by witnesses, and then they flagged down a cop car, and then the cop reported it too, supposedly, and said that he wrote a report. So we're working on my sources, and I had a source go and talk to somebody in the police department there, and he has a friend on the force, and the police officer was able to tell him, okay, we had this many armed robberies, this many of this many of that. No categories came up, which would be like suspicious person. I mean, that would probably be the category, because this figure was on the roof and people thought it was going to jump, and then they're like, oh no, it's the Mothman, it's not a jumper.
It flew straight up.
Right, and it went straight up again, right? So yeah, they said there was a police report, no police report. And so then I also, like, when I was still in their club on Facebook, the Facebook Messenger club, I was like trying to really use it to share information among researchers, which is what it was supposed to be about. And so I asked, I'm like, hey guys, what about this police report? That's public record. We should be able to get this. And so then I said, who looked for the police report? Who was the one that went to get it? Nobody answered. They were like, oh, I think somebody went to get it. Well, who was that person? And what was the manner of the request? What was the wording of the request? Because when you're doing a Freedom of Information Act requests, they can be a little bit dodgy. And you have to ask in specific terms. So I wanted to see what was asked specifically and what was returned. Like, what did they get back? But no one would pay any attention to my requests, and I requested several times. So I doubt that anybody even looked for the police report, or maybe they know that there is no police report because this case is not an actual case. I don't know, but you would think as a researcher that you can ask for a report and they would share information like that.
That's the stuff that kills me. We're all supposed to be researching this stuff, and nobody shares anything. We get nowhere with that. That's the stuff that makes me want to pull the little hairs out of my head.
Right.
It makes me nuts.
I agree, and I can understand the witness thing because, okay, you have witnesses. Maybe they're afraid to talk to multiple people. Probably not 59 or more witnesses, right? There probably would be some more witnesses that would be willing to open up, save just one that we have right now.
Who didn't even see a Mothman.
Right. Actually saw some kind of UFO. So, yeah, I'm pretty upset about the whole state of affairs, especially because I've been kicked out of the club now for expressing some skepticism. Apparently, you have to toe the line to be in the Mothman Task Force Club, and I don't toe the line. If there's something that doesn't smell right, I'm going to tell you right to your face. And I would think that's what you want in a researcher, and I would think that's what you want in a friend. But apparently, Lance Strickler and his group of cronies does not think that.
I think we can end it right there.
Tell everybody where they can find you and what you're working on so that, they have stuff to look forward to from you.
And where's that chalk mark? Tell us where that chalk mark is.
It's probably still over there at Melrose Park, in the middle of the parking lot.
At the Best Buy.
Yep. Between the Best Buy and the IHOP, I think it is, the distinctive roof there. All right, so you can find me at MilwaukeeGhosts.com. Yes, it is plural because if we only had one ghost in Milwaukee, I wouldn't have much to talk about now, would I? So MilwaukeeGhosts.com. You can also find more information on something I'm doing this summer at HawaiiParacon.com, the first paranormal conference in the history of the Hawaiian Islands.
Ooh, nice.
And then, of course, find me on YouTube. Right now, just search Allison Jornlin, or you can link to it from MilwaukeeGhost.com. But, yeah, just search my name, and you'll find actually I have 96 videos from my haunted road trips that I've been taking all over the country, including 59 of them where I went to each and every Mothman sighting location and read you the account. So you can see the area. You can see my skepticism. You can also hear the report and see what you think, because you're the one who should make the determination.
Allison, that's awesome. Thank you so much for being with us. That's awesome. You rock.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye, guys.
Bye. Talk to you soon. We are going to be talking to Sam, who is the state director of MUFON. He has been featured in many news articles, both local and nationally. He's been on the History Channel's UFO Hunters. He's been on NBC Dateline, a special presentation that they did there for the 10 best UFO encounters. So he has done tons of research into UFOs and all types of things paranormal, but we're really excited to have him on today to be part of our special that is about the Chicago Mothman. So Sam, welcome to the show. Why don't you
Thanks,
give us,
Sam.
if I missed anything there, why don't you give us a little bit of a backstory of you and what you do at MUFON?
Well, I'm just a state director here, and each state has a director. Sometimes people have multiple states because there aren't that many people that are willing to dedicate their time. This is a voluntary organization. A lot of people think that they come in, they want to be a field investigator. The first thing they say, well, how much will I get paid? And no, this is, it costs you money.
Yeah.
Same thing for a position. We have assistant state directors that handle, say, for instance, a number of counties. And before they take the positions, well, how much I get paid? Well, nobody gets paid. Only person getting paid is the executive director, the international director. I believe he has one assistant or two assistants. It was Project Blue Book that basically ended, and there was a need for the civilian base to at least champion the research again. And that's what they did. The organization originally was started here and was mainly the Midwest. It was called the Midwest UFO Organization, MUFON Network. So then it became national. Everybody wanted to become a member and start doing investigations and get some field training. So before he knew it, it became national and it became international.
Sure. How much time do you think you put in each week being the state director, and how long have you been in that position?
Well, my wife would say too damn much. The thing here is it's a full-time job. Besides just handling the cases that do come in, I do my own research, as you know, and I also do my own investigative research. I was doing that before I was with MUFON. I was doing UFO research, plus some other paranormal research or preternatural research.
What do you think of the old Chicago Mothman?
Okay, there we go. Oh boy, you and I could sit around. I think all of us could sit around for hours talking about this. But when those cases came in, get a load of this. We had 3 right off the bat in a matter of a couple days, and when we got them, the first thing we noticed was that all the contact information was either fictitious or not there. Even though a person may want to remain anonymous, they still get us the information because they want to know what the heck they saw. The other thing is they want to at least tell us what they saw. Everything there was fictitious. Now, the director of communications, Roger Marsh, he calls me up and he says, Sam, what's going on with this? I've never seen, first of all, well-structured narratives like this, like they're telling stories instead of giving reports. We've never seen anything like that. And the other thing is we've never seen, fictitious contact information.
Oh my gosh.
And the first 3, we've never seen that before.
It was almost like it was planned out right from the start.
Oh, from the get-go, yes. Like there was something going on right from the get-go. Then what I said is I asked them check the IP addresses to see the source. Well, I got the email back. 2 of the 3 came from the same IP address. Now, what's the odds of that? And I said, well, don't tell me anymore. I don't need to know anymore. I need to have a secondary source of finding commonality in these reports, and we did that just by reviewing the narratives. We've seen there were errors in some of the detail. In other words, some of the information they're saying just didn't add up. I'll give you an example. The very first one, which was Pilsen District, sounded very interesting, but there was rain that day, and no mention of the rain. They're standing outside during this period of time, and there's no rain. I found that odd. Plus, it would also skew the vision, and would cause some optical issues when it comes to looking at something with lights on buildings and shadows, etc. So I had to have a second out to see if there was something else there that just didn't make sense, and that was it. A few more. There were a few more things that I don't really want to get into, but that was one. The second one was the Humboldt Park sighting, where you had mind you, first of all, the dates were wrong on a lot of other groups had listings, and that was actually on the Pilsen one. Was 2:00 in the morning on Sunday, which was Easter Sunday. That was the day that happened. The other sighting, which was Humboldt Park, was the 16th, which was also Sunday, of Easter Sunday. And that was basically sounding as if they were Latinos or something like that. And they sounded real disingenuous. Of course, Jack is Latino, and I know the Latino community pretty well. None of that seemed to be genuine at all. It seemed to be real disingenuous. So we had that as a backup, too. The third one, I think you're going to get a kick out of, Jim. This is the one where the lady was on the lake on the 15th, mind you now. See, these reports come in, but they don't mention much of these other things, don't mention when they came in. That's very important, too. It's a striking thing when they come in. This one comes in much later and says that on the 15th, they were on Lake Michigan at 10 o'clock. Well, the water was 44 degrees out there in Lake Michigan, and they were some 2 miles out. There was small craft warning. There was 35-mile-an-hour winds, on and on and on, 3 to 5 with 7-foot waves, and they're out there having a party on a small boat. Now, mind you,
that's pretty shady. Yeah.
So then all of a sudden they see these 2 large bat-like things that are obviously larger than her husband, who must be in the air so she can get some idea of size. And, and she could see the moon glistening in its eyes. Here's the thing. Moon wasn't up for an hour and 45 minutes, or 43 minutes later than that.
Wow.
So there's all sorts of narrative issues and things that are wrong with all of them. And by the way, the first one and that one came from the same IP address.
So you think there's anything to it at all? You think there's anything to it at a minimum?
Yes. There's cyber hoaxing going on, and I think that has to do with testing the... there's all sorts of professional trolling operations going on, psych ops, and there's also just some people that just like to be nuisance. I don't know if it's a creative writing class, but there's something definitely going on. Now, when we start looking at the other reports that come in, now all of a sudden there are reports gravitating to other sites during this period of time. And when you look at the narratives, at least from one batch, I could say that they're similar, almost strikingly similar. Then all of a sudden we started to get reports again. We had 4 more reports come in. One was definitely facetious, and that one had contact information and everything, but they never called back. They were just basically saying there was a light in the sky, a big boom, and therefore it had to be Mothman. They were just trying to, saying we're basically a bunch of idiots if you buy this. The other 3 was, of course, that the girl who was at the marina and seeing the 2 bats in the sky doing the
dance,
sky acrobatics and all that stuff, and that one. And then the next one that came in was the photograph, and I think Ellison did a very good job explaining the photograph. And when I seen that, I knew we were going to get it. By the way, there was on social media they were talking about, well, what's going to happen when a photograph does show up and it goes into the hands of less than reliable investigator. Well, it just so happened MUFON received it in the CMS, and so did UFO Clearinghouse. Both of them received the same report and the photograph. Interesting, isn't that? Well, that one, and then that very next day, or 2 days after, no, next day, another report comes in, because it couldn't be the same day because it'd be too obvious, where the soccer mom and her 3 daughters seen the same thing, and that was just a couple miles away from the Melrose Park sighting and photograph. Well, we know the photograph's genuine. We know the metadata is there and it's correct. But what they took a picture of was an airplane. as Ellison told you, it's an airplane. The weather that day had three separate layers of clouds, three separate layers, and it was going through one. It was an airplane. That's what it is. Those last three cases, those last three reports, all the same IP address. The photograph, the mother with the children, the soccer mom, and the girl at the marina, same IP address. What's the odds of that? The sighting at Miller Park, and this is the one that Ellison was out there looking for the 5-story building. Remembered she couldn't find it, and she's trying to find a park with a basketball hoop.
She couldn't find it? Yeah.
Well, the strange thing about it is this girl supposedly sees these two was initially orange lights, eyes in the window. That's the one. Well, it comes in on the 13th, but it was supposedly in-house at UFO Clearinghouse on the 12th. But strangely enough, it shows up the same day those other images show up in the CMS from Pulaski. And the Miller Park sighting was the Friday the 29th of September. And when you read through that whole narrative, and it reads like, if you've read it before, it sounds like a nice fiction story. And all the catchy emotional stuff is in there, and it's a very good read. But when they were starting to talk about the girl sees two orange lights, two eyes, and she gets scared, runs into the room, and goes to the other friend, and the other friend sees her cowering in the corner, which is a very popular word, by the way, far too popular compared to the actual use of the word in the English language. And there's a few other words in there. Alighted. How many times have you heard that word? It's an English 16th century word, Very unusual.
Yeah. It's somebody doing an English project. You're right. It sounds exactly like it.
Yeah, Jim, you just laughed. You get to read and compare the narratives. These are, maybe it could be a college creative writing class, or it could be just a kid that has found a thesaurus. Who knows? But don't know. But the thing is, they brought up, they're going through it and they're saying, the moon was out and this 7-foot creature was the boyfriend sees this 7-foot creature on a basketball rim and it flies off. And with the city lights and the full moon the near full moon that night, they were able to easily see the wings on it, and it was about 7 feet tall. Well, the funny thing is, it was raining out at that time, and the other thing was that the moon wasn't out. It was very low on the horizon, and it was approximately 1/16th of its illumination. So, there's so many factors there that were so wrong. And then, if it was later than 8:13, I think, in the evening, the moon wasn't even up. So, there are certain attributes that are just so off the wall that anybody, looking at it, could easily discount it if you look at the unshakable facts.
A question that I have for you is, why would MUFON not be the only place that these people are reporting these sightings?
Well, I find that odd that we never got any more, and that was telling in itself. Only time they showed up again, because we had there was a big lull, is when they had to have a photo come in to 2 different locations. Then it started up again. Otherwise, there was this big lull. Initially coming in, it gives it credence because it goes on the internet. Unfortunately, raw reports that seem to have some sort of, public interest get out there far too quick in my eyes. I'd rather see it vetted before anything goes out. But I'm not in charge, so it's simple as that. But the other thing is, getting back to your point, why isn't there more going to MUFON? These are flying objects. They're in the air. It is an unidentified flying object, so of course it'd come in. You'd expect them to come in. We should get more.
And MUFON MUFON also has the best search engine optimization as far as if I was somebody who had just witnessed something like that and was to go to Google or any search engine and try to type in, I just want to report I saw something strange, MUFON always comes up because of the ratings that MUFON
Yes,
has.
it's number one. Besides that, the National UFO Reporting Center and Bigelow Aerospace still take some reports, but they only take them from military and Air Force and airports, I think.
So have you ever been able to directly interview anybody that has claimed to see something like the Mothman?
Yes. Actually, one of the reports that came in later, and the funny thing is, it didn't come in from any other, didn't come in from CMS. It came in directly to me, and that was Bill, the truck driver.
Yes.
Really nice guy. We got to be friends. Bill was sitting at his location, and I think it was either a pickup or delivering, I forgot. And it was a pickup, I believe. He was there, and he's looking westerly, and this would be around the Cicero, near 290, just south of 290. And he sees this thing coming across from the southeast, going northwest. And what he noted was this thing was about the size of a car, is what he figures. It was dark and black, and he saw the body of it. He had the shape. It was like a elongated football with a wing. He only saw one wing. He didn't see the other wing, and he's that honest. And it had the reverse scalloped edge, like a bat. On the rear section, so he said it reminded him of the Batmobile. And immediately when he seen that, he thought of the picture of the 63rd Street and Pulaski bat, the picture of the bat
from 2011,
the kite with the scalloping. There is scalloping on the top. So he immediately thought of that. He contacted me. He also contacted Lon. He contacted both of us. So. Lon interviewed him. Lon interviewed him, but I was talking to him well before then. It was on, I believe, Memorial Day weekend on that Sunday. So sure enough, the report did come in, the email. It was an email. It wasn't a CMS report. He directly contacted me. I contacted him. I emailed him back, talked to him, I think, the very next day. But we didn't have a chance to get together until, I think it was July 11th or something. We got together. We met each other. We sat down. But prior to that, we probably talked 15 times. And I met his brother. We had an excellent conversation. The gentleman explained what he saw. He drew what he saw. His story hasn't changed. And but he told me, he says, I see nothing discernible of it being, a humanoid or a human being or with wings or a bat person or anything like that. He didn't see any of those attributes or anything telling like that. He said it looked more streamlined and it looked mechanical. That is what he told me.
And that's always reported as being the first sighting of the Chicago Mothman, when in fact he didn't see Mothman. He saw a UFO. He saw a
UFO, and I mean, he thought it was more along the line of some sort of device. But he says, again, I didn't see any more detail. And he was being honest. It was too far away to discern anything else. He's being honest. But he did not say he saw any humanoid features, arms, head, or anything even remotely resembling a humanoid figure. So I think it was in the interview, a few of these people were asking questions the wrong way. I don't think it was trying to be dishonest. It was just a misinterpretation. That's all.
So out of 59, as of late reports, we've got one UFO. We've got one.
Well, yeah, one that, someone says, and the guy is upstanding, decent guy.
Yeah.
Something that, a UFO, an unidentified flying object.
Yeah.
So, and that's fine. Now, there were two other people. Now, this is where Jack comes in. Jack, we got this one report, or we seen the one report. We didn't get it. Lon received the report at the Owl Lounge. Do you remember that one?
Yeah.
The pterodactyl type creature. And John, who was the person there, he interviewed him. John was interviewed by Jack. We wanted to get a real good interview, but he hasn't, called back in the meantime. But the guy says, no, I was out there. I'd seen this thing fly over. And again, lighting at night. And the other thing is, this was during the time where you have migration of sandhill cranes, which we have a lot of sandhill cranes, more so now than ever before. And then, that's the only bird of that size that has its neck completely straight out that would look like a pterodactyl. And I know that firsthand because I seen one going up to the Milwaukee Paranormal Fest. I seen a sandhill crane flying, and I go, damn it, that don't look like a pterodactyl. It's dead rare for one, we were laughing and we couldn't believe it. Look at that. It's like a pterodactyl. But the other one that we get a lot of misidentifications on, more so looking like what would be the Mothman looking type thing, would be, of course, the great blue heron. The silhouette of that's different. The neck coils back, it recoils back, and it makes like this large, lumpy head-looking thing because you don't see the head and the bill. That silhouette's different. So that's that could be a reason for some of the sightings, the Calumet sighting parks, possibly. There may be there's genuine sightings, I think, of something, but they may be misinterpretations. One gentleman who was at Franklin, the Franklin Tap or something, he was having coffee or whatever. He looked up and seen something that looked like a big insect, and it jumped off the Willis Tower. Now that gentleman was interviewed by Jack, but never returned the phone call to be re-interviewed again.
We want to know, one full sentence, what do you think this is? What is going on here?
In a sentence with a lot of commas?
A sentence, a lot of commas. Grammar doesn't matter.
In grammar school, my grammar teacher would hit me with a ruler. If I'm lucky, just a ruler, not the shoe. I would say it's a combination of different things at play. Genuine sightings of something that people feel is anomalous. That's one thing. There is an element of that, which very well could be, for the most part, misidentifications. And I'll always leave open the possibility of anything more. For the bulk of it, I think there's definitely an element of some sort of I don't know what would be, multiple people, more than likely, or one person with really a very dull life.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
Or a combination of that, I don't know. And, the other thing is, a lot of people, now that this has taken on a life of its own, and it has, you talk to some of these people, they'll tell you they've already heard about this. The two other witnesses that that seen the one at the Owl Tap and the other gentleman, both knew about this scenario. And they, once you have it in your mind, you may have your mind made up when you see something even remotely resembling what you think you saw.
You have that predisposition.
There's a lot of terms, but I think predisposition is absolutely the best. It has no other nomenclature to it, or it's just cut and dry. This is it. It's just a predisposition, and that is just part of the human element.
The one last question that I have to ask is, the other reports have been coming into UFO Clearinghouse as well as phantoms and monsters. Have you been working with the administrators of those sites in trying to determine the credibility of all of these reports, or what is your relationship with Lon Strickler and Manuel Navarrete?
With Lon?
Yes.
Well, initially we were, I wanted to work with him on this stuff, and I told him that we had nothing. The reports coming in, I mean, what we had, they were giving us fictional, and there was nothing more to go on. And I also mentioned that 2 of the reports were questionable. I didn't want to say why. I said we knew 2 of them came from the same source. I didn't want to give any more information out at that point. But I was willing to share any information that he had besides that source. And I did. Now, what had happened was he felt that I wasn't sharing information. And then all of a sudden they got upset about that. Whatever, a monster, turn your lights on because there's a monster under the bed. I was hearing that tune in my head. It didn't make sense. Because I'm not the monster.
Yeah.
There was nothing else there. I was waiting on something that never happened. Never. Because it didn't exist. But it was convenient, as far as that goes. This is what cracks me up. You folks can appreciate this. My people in ufology can't follow this as having a value. Now, personal friends of mine, Richard Dolan, think it's fantastic. They understand it. Psychologists and social psychologists say, Sam, this is fantastic. This is huge. I go, you bet it's huge. This is a very important phenomena that's going on right here, live. And we're involved. We're able to see it and actually decipher some of this. But the bigger thing is the social phenomena. It's huge. Yeah, I mean, the thing is, this is where monsters lie, okay? And that's a double entendre, right? So, who knows? As far as anything being an absolute monster sitting out, I think all of us would like that. Something. I already picked out a wardrobe for the damn thing. I mean, I'm taking that thing out of the town. I got him a pimp hat, the whole thing. I mean,
a pimp hat?
Pimp hat with a big yellow feather. Hell yeah. I mean, this.
Oh, yeah.
I mean.
Oh, yeah.
I'm thinking, God.
And on that note, thanks. Thanks, Dan. Thank you.
Yeah, this has been absolutely great. And I think that, this conversation, we're not here to tell everybody this is exactly what's happening. It's more about making people more aware that there might be something more at play and that they should do their research. And
the other possibility is all this is a distraction from something
else
that is really going on.
Yeah.
So we throw that into the mix too. I don't discount anything at this point. Nothing.
Yeah.
I deal in the world of the weird. I deal in things that are above national security or at the highest levels.
Yes.
I know. But the same thing, I also deal with regular people. And I know sometimes with this, the problem today is there's such a problem discerning fact from fiction. And
you got that right.
I think it's
Oh my God.
Yeah. Isn't it the truth? I mean, we don't, and the mind doesn't really know. It's only in a conscious state that you struggle with it. So today we have so much information overload, and once you throw emotion into it, it screws it all up.
Yeah.
The bottom line is it's a narrowing if it even exists anymore. The illusion is ours, but what do we make of it? It's crazy.
And that's perfect.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Sam. I think that this was absolutely great.
Thank you. That was a great time.
Well, I'm so glad, thank you so much I know that we've been kind of talking back and forth, so I'm glad we were able to make the scheduling work. So, Lon, you have been a Fortean researcher since the late 70s, isn't that right?
Well, I was a paranormal investigator, and
I had done a lot of cases right after I got out of high school in the late 70s, well, mid 70s. And I mostly did investigations on battlefields, but I helped a few people with spiritual infestations and such. And, and back then nobody did anything about paranormal investigators. It wasn't like anything near what it is now.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I did until I had, I moved to Maryland. I lived in Maryland at that time, and I had a Bigfoot encounter back in '81. So after that occurred, I began looking into cryptids and about everything else. And I just, I didn't really focus on anything particular. So I was doing everything.
Yeah.
I mean, everything as far as supernatural. So I mean, if that's Fortean, yeah, okay. That's what I do.
Does anything strange you look into? Yeah, I stumbled across your site earlier this year because of all of the Chicago Mothman sightings that you have collected.
In 1988, I had an encounter with a winged being very similar to what's going on in Chicago. It was me and two other people together, and we had that occur.
Oh, wow.
So, I've always been interested in the Mothman phenomena. I even knew about it when that occurred. But
the original ones, you mean? In 66?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I don't know if I don't believe that these sightings in Chicago are particularly connected to the Mothman, though. There are a lot of similarities, but there are a few things that are different as well. So, in fact, I'm writing a book. I just finished the book today, to be honest with you, and that's going to try to get it published soon, about these Chicago sightings. And I make a lot of comparisons, and the investigation team I'm working with, I have everything in there as far as what we've discovered, and so we'll go from there.
Yeah, why don't we just go ahead and get right into it? What do you think that this Chicago phantom is? Because people have reported seeing owl-like creatures, pterodactyl-like creatures. Do you think it's just a flap for strange things to come through, or is there a specific creature?
Well, at this point right now, the sightings have really dramatically waned. I mean, we haven't had maybe one or two sightings in the past month or so.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of that has to do with the cold weather that's approaching. And, of course, it results in a lot fewer people being out walking about. So, but it has become obvious that the sightings and the humanoids itself aren't presenting themselves as they had earlier. So, but I do believe, and this is something I'm looking forward to, I do believe personally that this is going to start back up again next year. I just have that sense. There are a lot of theories as to what's been going on with this, and personally, I believe there have been 3 winged beings flying in and around the Chicago metro area. And I do think these are going to continue in the near and distant future. I mean, right now, this phenomenon is really just part of Chicago's supernatural culture. I mean, this is the big deal right now. And I don't think this is something that's going to stop. I also believe that these are flesh and blood beings, but I think they were summoned from an alternate reality of some type.
Now, you say you think they're summoned. Do you think somebody in particular is summoning these creatures, or do you think it's...
I do think so.
Oh.
And in fact, there may be 2 instances where they were actually summoned. I can't really...
Can you tell me more?
I think it may have something to do with some type of occult or witchcraft type of summoning.
Okay.
It's a possibility. I mean, I'm not entirely convinced of that, but I am sure, fairly positive, that there's an open portal somewhere. And Now, I don't think these were evil entities. I think these were summoned basically as guardians or sentries. But, they do possess abilities that are difficult for us to explain. So, I haven't perceived really a specific connection between the witnesses and the sightings, but, these witnesses were definitely given a unique opportunity to observe something otherworldly, I feel. So, but I still don't feel there's a connection.
Because there haven't been very many witnesses that have gone public with their encounters, I would like to learn more. How many witnesses have you directly talked to? And when you interview these witnesses, what is your approach?
Well, between myself and Manuel Navarrete, who I've worked with, he lives in Chicago.
Yeah.
We have interviewed, I'd say about 20 to 25 witnesses, either in person or by telephone. So, and these witnesses have been very forthcoming. They don't embellish stories. I've been doing this for a long time as far as interviewing witnesses for cryptid sightings or any other type of paranormal type phenomena. And quite frankly, it's not that difficult to get a witness to embellish on a story. But for whatever reason, and because I believe that these witnesses were definitely imprinted with these sightings, they do not embellish on it. And in fact, say a witness will call me or a witness will send me an email, when I do talk to them again or do get a hold of them, they will not embellish on it. They stick to the story. That's part of what I use to try to determine if what they're telling me is actually happened. The accounts are very bizarre accounts for the most part, but it's not much different than what people have been experiencing with flying humanoid sightings and encounters before and after the Mothman incident in Point Pleasant. I mean, this is, but these sightings in particular, this group of sightings, this is a historical group. Nothing like this has ever happened before, let alone in an urban environment.
Yeah, with this many reports in such a short amount of time.
Yeah, it's very unusual. And the way the witnesses have reported, the way they've talked to us, the way they presented it to us, it's hard not to believe them.
Before this Mothman flap in Chicago, about how often were you receiving reports on phantoms and monsters? Did you receive reports this frequently?
Oh, not like this. I would probably get a flying humanoid or unknown flying being report maybe every month or every other month or so on the average. But that would be worldwide. Okay.
So most of the reports that are coming to you and Manuel Navarrete, correct, from UFO Clearinghouse, or are there other sources that have been getting reports?
We've gotten most reports. One of the gentlemen in our group, Tobias Whalen, who's with Singular Fortean Society in Madison, he got one report, but he's with the group and he's been investigating with us.
Okay. Why do you think that out of all of the 15, isn't there 59 reports? I feel like it was 59, and then I just looked at the map the other day and it's 55 now. Did something change with that, or was my memory just wrong?
No, it's, other than, we've had 53 or 54 sightings in 2017. Now, there were some sightings from 2011. There were 3 sightings within 3 months in 2011, and they were very similar to what's being seen now.
Okay.
But no, this year, I would have to say, because I did drop one of the sightings off the map. I would say right now we're at 53 or 54 real good sightings. I mean, real sightings where we are confident that something was seen.
Did you drop it off of the map? Was that the one where you were saying that the witness wasn't a credible source, or why did you drop that? Okay.
Yeah, there was one over the United Center. I took that off. I wasn't able to get any more information, and I wasn't confident with the source. I don't normally post it unless I get a promise from somebody they're going to get back to me. I will post it up there, but
if they don't,
just kept dragging on. I got tired of waiting. I just took it off.
Oh, okay. Well, what I was getting to is with these 53, 54 reports that are happening in these busy. I live in the suburbs outside of Chicago, and I lived downtown Chicago for 3 years. I know a lot of the areas where these witnesses have been are extremely populated. I'm very surprised there's not really any hard evidence that has surfaced. There's no pictures, or there's not really any witnesses that are going public. Why do you think people are kind of afraid to post these things?
Well, it's something we've thought about. I mean, as far as the photographs, getting photographs or possibly video, the sightings overall have been pretty fleeting. I mean, it's been like just a matter of seconds. And by the time somebody gets a phone out and gets an opportunity to get a photograph, it's gone. That's been one thing. A lot of them have been at night.
Yeah.
We did get one picture from Melrose Park, though by the time she got the camera out, this thing had gone a considerable distance away from her. And there's another aspect to where these beings do seem to have some type of extrasensory connection with the witnesses. It's not all the time, but on some occasions that has happened. They are so, I wouldn't say they're shocked by the sighting, but the last thing they're thinking about is grabbing their phone and taking a photograph.
But I do remember that being noted by a few of the witnesses, saying that they felt kind of like they were in a trance, or that they couldn't move, that maybe they were just so shocked that they couldn't take a picture. But it just really strikes me as weird. I actually was, when these sightings first were coming out, I was actually going to the city and walking around looking for this thing, or trying to talk to people and see if anybody had heard anything. And on June 23rd, I was actually at Navy Pier when it was reported to be spotted flying over the Adler Planetarium, which is only about 1.5 miles a distance there. And there's just so many people. So I'm really just waiting. I feel like I do understand what you're saying, that these things happen so quickly, but we live in an era where everybody's taking pictures anyway, and they have their phone out videotaping or doing something. I'm just waiting for there to be some sort of hard evidence that goes public.
Yeah, I mean, this has been confusing us as well, and it's been frustrating.
Yeah.
Some of the witnesses had the opportunity to take a photograph, but for whatever reason, and when you talk to them, you ask them. I asked every one of them.
Sure.
Well, why didn't you get a chance to take a photograph? I wasn't even thinking about it.
Yeah.
Or it went by so fast, or it was too dark, or so. The only thing I can do is take their word for it. But even though they don't get a photograph, I'm not discounting their story, because what they tell me is the way they describe it. We have had several group sightings, in particular in the Little Village area.
Yeah.
There have been 7 sightings in Little Village. 6 of those were within a 11-block radius, which is, I think they're good, very good sightings, because, the people in that neighborhood, which is mostly Hispanic, they're very superstitious, and it's hard for them to even report anything that's out of the ordinary. And the fact that we're getting these reports from there just adds a lot of credibility as far as I'm concerned.
So when these reports come in, I know you've said that you have talked to some of the witnesses over the phone. Does Manny like to interview people in person, or could you give me like a little more detail on his process?
Yeah, he has been interviewing in person. As much as he possibly can. I mean, a lot of people don't want him to talk in person.
Yeah.
He has made an attempt. We've had several in-person interviews. The last sighting that happened in Piotrowski Park, which is just on the western edge of Little Village, he has talked to those two witnesses. He's attempting to get the photographs they took of the car with the scratches and such, and he has been trying to get them to talk to him in person. But apparently, and I haven't mentioned any of this yet, but apparently this woman has seen this thing following her. I don't know what the deal is with that. It's interesting that came up because about a week ago, I got a phone call from a woman who told me that her and her family had encounters with something similar like to this since the 70s.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. And that they used to live in a house where there was a warehouse across the alley that this thing lived.
Okay.
And it's on the blog. She was pretty specific on the locations in the city. She gave me addresses, but when she became an adult, the same thing seemed to follow her. And she has locations where she had seen this thing where she moved to, West Virginia, North Carolina. And, I think there's 18 locations she wrote down. And some of the addresses were very specific locations. So, it's hard for me I really don't know what to think about it. I did talk to her. She called me. But it's interesting. It's just another aspect of this thing that,
Yeah.
But, this flying phenomena, this flying humanoid phenomena, flying even pterosaur-like, pterodactyl-like beings or other type of huge flying beings. After I got into this investigation, it soon became apparent that these things have been being seen in the Chicago area for a long time.
Okay.
There was actually a woman who was attacked and injured by one of these several years ago, and that was in Chicago. This thing followed them, her and her husband, and actually attacked the car and got one of its claws inside the side window and attacked her. And when they were driving off to go home, by the time they got home and she got out of the car, the thing attacked her again at home.
Oh my gosh.
And there were injuries. And apparently, from the person who told me was a friend of her son's. He told me that she sustained some pretty nasty cuts on her back. So this is the first time I've ever heard of anything like this happening, where somebody was actually attacked by one of these beings.
Do you think maybe here in Chicago that it could be leading up to something like that? Because I've noticed the reports are getting a little bit more and more interactive or extreme, where now it's actually swiping at their car.
Yeah, I'm afraid. That's what I'm afraid of.
Sure.
That's why I want to get as much information as I can with this last sighting.
Yeah.
With the Piotrowski Park sighting, because I don't know if it's something leading up to anything, or maybe something's going to restart when the weather gets good, nice again. I don't know. But it was a bit concerning. And we're still concerned about it. It's hard to tell what's going to happen. I don't think these are evil entities. I really don't. I think if they feel threatened, they may attack. But I don't think they're evil. I don't think they have any type of agenda. I think that, like I said before, I think that we're summoned. I think they are flesh and blood, but I think they came from another reality of some type for some reason, somehow. But I think because of the weather and there being less people out there to see these things, I just think that might be a good reason why they're not being seen that much now. Who
I guess
knows?
we'll see.
This winter, maybe they'll come out again. I don't know.
Yeah, because I mean, that makes sense, but at the same time, if there is this portal open and there's all these creatures, 3 or more possibly, I don't think they should be fazed by the weather, and there's still going to be people out. So I guess we'll just have to wait and see, what reports come in.
I don't know if you read the reports from Indiana, but there's one area there up by Whiting or Northern Hammond, where this thing was seen in a swamp area up there by the golf course. And I had talked to a witness who actually got really upset with me because they were afraid that I was going to cause this thing harm by people going hunting for it. They tell me that they have seen this thing in that area for a while now. I talked to someone with Indiana Wildlife. They confirmed to me that there had been weird reports of huge flying beings in that area over the years. I don't know. Nobody's gotten a picture of it. I haven't had any other reports of anything, but there have been a lot of sightings around that area. Yeah.
I definitely would like to ask you, because I think it's a question that everybody has on their mind if they've heard about these sightings, is do you think that this is some sort of bringing of something bad's going to happen?
I don't buy into the harbinger theory.
Yeah.
That was all perpetrated basically by John Keel with the Mothman.
Because we're coming up on the 50th anniversary of the bridge collapse this year in just a few weeks. I think it's in December too. So
it's a small community where 46 people died just before Christmas. People were looking for answers. They wanted to know what happened. And, there are a lot of theories about what happened. Of course, people said they saw this being flying above the bridge just before it occurred. Well, that may very well be, but I think the harbinger theory was more of an excuse. I really don't think there's anything like that involved here in Chicago. I may be wrong. I may be totally wrong. And if something does happen to where we can connect it to these sightings, then it happens. But I really don't believe that's what's going on.
Okay. Well, that's good to have that on the books. At least we have Lon Strickler saying we're going to be all right, everybody.
I had stated early on that there may be some type of warning involved here. I did several interviews where I had mentioned that. I'm kind of sorry I did that, because actually in July and August, I was getting up to 20 phone calls a day from just residents in Chicago wanting to know what is going to happen.
Oh, wow.
I did all I could to keep people, but it was getting bad there for a while. So, I'm kind of sorry I said that. And I'm even mentioning in the book that I really shouldn't have said that until I got more details about what was going on. I have had people in the past, when I reported something, get in contact with me that means this and that. But with this situation, it's been pretty interesting. I can't even remember or count how many times I've had people contact me. By telephone, by email, everything. It was ridiculous there for a while.
If you had $1 for every one.
Yeah, I could have took advantage of all that and, posted all the stuff that people were telling me and put it on the blog and get thousands more hits. But I wasn't going to do that. That's just, I'm not into really speculating and give much opinion as to what's going on. I kind of leave it open for people to determine themselves what they think is going to happen. If they've got a question, I'll talk to them. But if I do have a theory, I'll put it out there. But for the most part, I'm not even going to get into that. Something where frighten people, that's just not my way.
Yeah. A lot of the reports are very long and detailed. Have you gotten reports like this previously? Because so many of them seem to have such a narrative to them, that they're written so well. Seems really bizarre.
I do take the liberty when I get a report to make sure when I write it out that it's understandable. I mean, you can imagine some of the reports, but I don't add anything to try to make it sound readable. I mean, for it to be readable, and I don't like putting a whole lot of conjectures and mistakes or anything like that in the stories.
Okay, well, that really just answered a lot of questions, because I always thought that your reports were just like a direct copy and paste from like the emails or submission forms.
Sometimes.
Okay.
Yeah, sometimes, but a lot of times I won't do that.
Oh, okay.
I just don't post everything I get. I mean, you can imagine with all the stuff I get, if I posted everything, I wouldn't have anybody reading the blog because they think it's all speculation and all,
Okay.
So I'm not going to do that. My first book where I had put reports, email reports into the book verbatim, I got a lot of complaints about that. And when I was doing that on the blog, I was getting complaints too. It's amazing how many grammar police are out there on the internet. So I made up my mind, and I do tell people, look, you can send the story, but I need your permission to revise it so people understand what is really going on.
Just to make it easier to read so they can get through it. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, I know I went through each report and kind of cross-checked some things. Do you do that when you read these reports to see like, oh, is this just somebody writing a story to, fool me or hoax me?
Well, when you get a report and it's almost the same as something else you've got, look, I know people are seeing something that's very similar. Yeah. But if it gets to the point where they're using actual details that just are too coincidental, I won't use it. And there have been some reports like that.
I know I can think of two reports. For example, they said something like it flew across the moon, it silhouetted itself across the moon, and I checked that the moon wasn't actually up for another hour and a half after they said they saw it. So that couldn't have happened.
Either that or they got their time wrong on that. That's the one down in, that was in South Chicago. I know which one you're talking about.
So do you think that they might be lying? Do you think that might be a fake report, or?
I think under the circumstances, now these are two people. I mean, this was just the one person out of the two that said that. I think under the circumstances, they may have gotten that mixed up. I had thought about not putting it in the report, but I did put it in there anyway. I've had some people contact me and tell me the same thing.
Oh, okay.
It's like a quarter moon that night, and I'm aware of all that.
Okay.
And I'm aware of what the phases and everything at the particular time, since they mentioned it. I had one of my people look into it. So, but I kept it in anyway. I didn't put anything in there saying that, this could have been right, this could have been wrong. That report in particular, they called me.
Okay.
And I talked to them directly. And, the way they were acting, they were really shook up. I mean, she wasn't particular. She was really shook up. So maybe she got a few things wrong on there. I don't know. It's anything's possible. But, everything else she told me checked out. So, I'm not going to come on and say, every report we got, every report that we posted was absolutely what people saw.
Okay.
You're never going to get that. I mean, in particular, the report where the gentleman said he saw this being drop off, jump off the Willis Tower.
Yeah, I'm familiar with that one.
That's, I have questions about that. He actually called me right after it occurred. He was in that bar. He was talking to people. He was shook too. I mean, by the way he reacted. And I was able to contact him again, and he verified what he said he saw. That sighting itself was this thing morphed into a insectoid like being,
a praying
or something.
mantis. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. He was a pretty good distance away from it, so he may have gotten of his perspective or perception of it may have been somewhat skewed by the distance.
Could be.
We had investigators go to the location and look up and, give their opinion of what he may have seen. We have questions, but I put it up there anyway. I kept it up there. Who's to say he's not saying he didn't see something?
Sure. Okay. Well, I mean, no, that's definitely good to know. I personally would like to read your notes, of these sort of things. But I guess ultimately that's up to you. If you feel like it's distracting. Oh, it's in the book. Okay.
What I thought, I added to the book our thinking as the team, what I was thinking, my thoughts on the sightings. That Willis Tower sighting I didn't put in the book.
Okay.
Because it's not a credible sighting as far as I'm concerned. I put it on the map and reported it on the blog.
Yeah.
After talking to the team, because they felt it was important to keep it in there. There have been others. This is where I've gotten a report and pulled it. Yeah. Where I just didn't believe there was enough evidence. There was another report that I had questions about was the Lollapalooza sighting after the concert. I had questions about that because I believe
because they were at Lollapalooza.
Not only that, but they had more than enough opportunity to take a photograph of this thing because it was lit up enough the area, and it was a group of girls. And
we're glued to our phones, so basically.
Took a camera out and took a picture of this thing. It's just hard for me to believe. And the way it was written up, the way it was reported, I had issues with it too. Now, Manuel got that report. He talked to them. So, I'm just going by what he told me. I'm not discounting his assessment of it. But I've got a little bit of questions on it. I put it in the book, but I didn't really expound on it. I just put on there that it was, that it occurred.
That it happened. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying all these reports were absolutely what they said they were, but the fact that we got that many reports and we had several reports that were backed up by other reports.
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe for the most part we're getting good information.
Well, I guess, I think we covered everything. Why don't you go ahead and tell everybody where we can find you and make sure you drop the name of your new book and when that's going to be out.
Well, I can be found at phantomsofmonsters.com. When you go there, you can sign up for the free daily newsletter, which I put out. It'll come in your email. I've got 5 books on Amazon currently. You just go there and search Lon Strickler or search Phantoms of Monsters. The new book is titled Mothman Dynasty, Chicago's Winged Humanoids. And it should be out. I'm not guaranteeing this. I'm trying to get it out before Christmas.
Ooh, very cool.
It depends on the publisher, the guy working on me to get this published. There's a lot of things that need to be done yet, but like I said, I'm done writing the book itself, and he's got everything, so we'll go from there.
Awesome. Well, congratulations on that, and I hope you have a really nice Thanksgiving. Thank you so much for talking. It's been a pleasure.
No problem. You take care now.
All right. Bye.
Okay. Take care.
think we had audio there. Hold on.
Oh.
Ah, there's no audio. Okay. Do we have audio now? Can you guys hear us? I just looked at the chat box and they're like, oh, there's no audio. Okay. It's showing on my end there's audio now. Yes.
Hey, everybody!
Somebody just commented, Madeline is going off too. Yeah, you guys missed it. So sorry about that. We said, thank you guys so much for watching. We think that those interviews went really, really good, and we hope that you guys enjoyed watching them as much as we did, recording them and interviewing. And yeah, like, you know, you said, we had 4 great people that all kind of had different opinions and different knowledge on the subject.
Yes, and if you like the show, be sure to hit the old subscribe button and like us.
You guys get a
Because
thumbs
we
up dance
enjoy doing
twice. Thumbs up dance. That's how you get subscribers, you guys. You do thumbs up and you do dances.
Thumbs up and subscribers. That's how we get new people. Like we talked about, next month's going to be our Christmas special. So we'll talk about everything from Krampus to Gremlins to Santa Claus. And then the new year, we've got a whole bunch of extra stuff in store for you. So we can't wait. So
yeah.
Until we meet again.
Our next show, just so you guys can put it in your calendar, it will be December 28th, and we always stream live at 8 p.m. And we're going to be featuring, I have a friend, I don't want to give away too much, but I have a friend that actually saw Santa Claus when he was a kid. So, totally weird, and I think that it'll be a really great show, and we have tons of stuff coming up. So, make sure you hit that subscribe button. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. I'm going to go ahead and throw up our credits scene so you guys can also, I'm not going to throw up, I'm going to put up, no throwing up on live TV.
Yeah, same thing.
I'm going to put up our credits scene, which also has all of the contact information for our wonderful hosts. So make sure that you go and say hi to all of them and give them a thanks for being on our show. So thanks guys so much for watching. This has been great.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye. I'm bringing us back. Per our viewers' request, here is Jim and his thumbs up dance. We'll give you whatever you guys want. All right, back to the credits, and then we're going to go ahead and end this thing. Thank you guys so much. Bye-bye.
Bye.